Welcome to the DIY Honda Garage channel. This presentation focuses on the DTC P0463, indicating a high voltage issue in the fuel level sensor circuit of the Honda CR-V models from 2011 to 2016. The fuel level sensor, which is also referred to as the fuel gauge sending unit, plays a critical role in measuring the amount of fuel in the fuel tank and providing this information to the vehicle's onboard computer for accurate gauge readings. When the DTC P0463 code is triggered, it typically suggests that there's too much voltage in the circuit. This can lead to inaccurate fuel readings and may also affect the overall functionality of the fuel gauge. As professionals, we need to properly diagnose and address this issue to ensure the vehicle operates optimally. We will follow a structured troubleshooting methodology to identify the root cause and implement the necessary repairs. The P0463 error code relates specifically to the fuel level sensor, or fuel gauge sending unit, circuit demonstrating a high voltage condition. The sensor operates by sending a signal that corresponds to the fuel level in the tank, allowing the driver to see how much fuel is available. This signal is transmitted to the gauge control module, which interprets the reading and displays it on the dashboard. The fuel level sensor is typically located within the fuel tank, connected to the wiring harness via a 4-pin connector. When this circuit experiences high voltage, it may be caused by disrupted connections or malfunctions in the gauge control module, leading to a misinforming fuel gauge reading. Understanding this is crucial for effective diagnostics and repairs. Several factors can contribute to the emergence of DTC P0463. One primary cause is a faulty fuel level sensor, which might malfunction and provide incorrect readings or excessive voltage. Another possibility is wiring issues, including shorts or open circuits within the sensor's connecting wires. These problems can lead to high voltage readings, activating the DTC. Additionally, the gauge control module, responsible for interpreting signals from the sensor, may itself be defective, causing it to misread or inadequately process the sensor's data. Each of these causes must be carefully evaluated during the troubleshooting process. When a vehicle triggers DTC P0463, drivers might notice that the fuel gauge is not functioning correctly. Common symptoms include the gauge reporting empty fuel levels regardless of the actual fuel present in the tank, or it may stick at the full position. Another sign is the persistent display of the DTC P0463 on the diagnostic scan tool, indicating an ongoing issue with the fuel level sensor circuit. These symptoms not only create inconvenience for the driver, but may also lead to situations where the vehicle could run out of fuel unexpectedly, underscoring the importance of addressing this fault promptly. To begin the troubleshooting process for DTC P0463, the first step is to turn the ignition switch to the on position, often referred to as position 2. This action powers up the vehicle's electronic systems and allows the use of the Honda Diagnostic System, HDS. Following this, it is crucial to clear the DTC using the HDS. This software tool is pivotal in reading, diagnosing, and clearing fault codes within the vehicle's computer. After clearing the code, waiting for a period of 5 seconds is necessary before proceeding to check for any confirmed or pending codes. This step helps ensure that the system stabilizes and gives the technician an accurate reading of any new DTCs that may present. After clearing the DTC and verifying if DTC P0463 is indicated, the next step is to isolate and determine the potential failure area. First, turn the ignition switch to the lock position, ensuring all electrical systems are completely off. Subsequently, access the fuel tank area by removing the floor access panel, which allows direct examination of the fuel tank unit. The next critical step is to disconnect the fuel tank unit 4P connector, which is essential for performing accurate voltage checks. Disconnecting this connector isolates the fuel level sensor circuit, allowing for precise measurements to identify the source of the fault. The following step involves checking the integrity of the fuel gauge line. Begin by turning the ignition switch to lock. Then, use a jumper wire to connect terminals A and B, specifically fuel tank unit 4P connector number 4 to body ground. This process allows an artificial ground to be created, setting up conditions to check for continuity between the gauge control module and the fuel tank unit. Removing the gauge control module connector is necessary for this check. Once the gauge control module is disconnected, utilize a multimeter to measure continuity between the designated test points. If continuity exists, the fuel gauge wire is intact. Otherwise, further investigation is needed. In this step, we perform a similar continuity check for the fuel gauge plus line. First, connect terminals A and B using a jumper wire. Here, Terminal A represents fuel tank unit 4P connector number 2, while Terminal B is grounded to the body. This step ensures accuracy in testing the circuit's integrity. With these connections made, check for continuity between the set test points using your multimeter. If continuity is confirmed, then the fuel gauge plus wire is functioning correctly, and you can proceed with the next diagnostic step. If not, there may be an issue with the wiring which needs addressing before resuming further testing. The next step involves assessing the fuel gauge sending unit for proper functionality. Start by turning the ignition switch to lock and removing the previously installed jumper wire from the fuel tank unit 4P connector. It is advisable to carefully remove the fuel tank unit from its location to facilitate accurate testing. Once the unit is out, use diagnostic tools to evaluate its performance. If the fuel gauge sending unit is operational, this confirms that it is not the source of the DTC P0463. In contrast, if the unit fails to perform as expected, replacing the fuel gauge sending unit will be necessary before proceeding to the gauge control module check. This step focuses on verifying the functionality of the gauge control module itself. Begin by reconnecting both the fuel tank unit 4P connector and the gauge control module 32P connector to ensure a complete electrical circuit. Once connected, turn the ignition switch back to on position 2 to power the system. Using the Honda Diagnostic System, HDS, clear any DTC codes and set the float to the full F position. The final task is to observe whether the fuel gauge moves to the full position. If it does, this indicates that the gauge control module is functioning correctly. If not, it necessitates replacement of the gauge control module as the next corrective action. The repair verification process is critical to ensuring that all previous troubleshooting steps and repairs have been effective. Begin by turning the ignition switch to lock 0 and carefully reinstall all previously removed parts in the order they were taken out. Once everything is back in place, turn the ignition switch to the on position 2 and utilize the Honda Diagnostic System HDS to reset the powertrain control module PCM. This reset allows the system to recalibrate and learn any new settings that may have changed during repairs. Complete a final check for any pending or confirmed DTCs using the HDS to confirm that the issue is fully resolved. To minimize the chances of encountering the DTC P0463 in the future, implementing preventative maintenance measures is essential. Regular diagnostics can help catch issues early before they escalate into problems. It's also important to frequently inspect the fuel sensor's connections and wiring for any signs of wear, corrosion, or damage that could lead to high voltage readings or inaccuracies in fuel measurement. Keeping the firmware on the Powertrain Control Module, PCM, updated can enhance performance and help recognize newer faults that may arise. By taking these proactive steps, vehicle owners can maintain optimal performance and reliability from the fuel system. In conclusion, understanding the details surrounding DTC P0463 is crucial for diagnostics and repair. The issue primarily arises from the fuel level sensor circuit, which can indicate high voltage due to various causes, including faulty wiring or sensor failure. A systematic troubleshooting approach is necessary to accurately pinpoint the issue, starting from the initial DTC clearance to final verification checks post-repair. Consistent preventive maintenance aspects, such as monitoring connections and PCM updates, can considerably reduce the recurrence of DTCs. Addressing these issues promptly not only enhances vehicle reliability, but also ensures a safer driving experience. Following this guide, step by step, will assist in effectively resolving DTC P0463. Please like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time!